This House now resumes its sitting. Call of the roll.
Mrs. Holness, Mr. Bartlett, Mr. Holness, Dr. Clark, Dr. Chang, Mr. Montague, Mr. Shaw, Mr. Samuda, Ms. Grange, Mrs. Williams, Mrs. Malauford, Dr. Tufton, Mr. McKenzie, Mr. Chuck, Mr. Vaz, Mr. Warmington, Mr. Hutchinson, Mr. Charles, Mr. Terry Long, Mr. Smith, Mr. Main, or Miss Smith, Mr. Main, Dr. Dunn, Mrs. Cuthbert Flynn, Mr. Morgan.
Present.
Mr. Montague, Ms. Davis, Mr. Brown, Dr. Brown-Burke, Dr. Charles, Mr. Chin, Mr. Clark, Mr. Warmington, Mr. Cousins, Ms. Crawford, Ms. Daly, Ms. Davis, Mr. Golding, Mr. Graham, Mr. Green, Dr. Guy, Mr. Davis, Ms. Hamilton, Ms. Hannah, Mr. Henriquez, Mr. Henry, Mr. Hilton, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Lawrence, Ms. Lee, Mr. Miller, Ms. Morrison, Mrs. Nita Garvey, Mr. Paulwell, Mr. Phillips, Dr. Phillips, Mr. Robertson, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Graham, Mr. Sibbles, Mr. Slowly, Mrs. Vaz, Dr. Wheatley, Mr. Williams, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Witter, Mr. Wright.
Statements by ministers. Announcements.
Laid on the table of the House today are the following. Annual report of the Montego Bay Convention Center for the year 2016-2017 and annual report of said Montego Bay Convention Center for the year 2017-2018 and certified appropriation account for head 2200 Houses of Parliament for the year 2011-2012.
Bills brought from the Senate, petitions, papers, reports from committees, notices of motions given orally, questions and answers to questions.
Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the expiration of 21 days, I will ask the Minister of Health and Wellness the following questions.
Motions that may be made at the commencement of public business requiring notice. Motions relating to sittings of the House. Motions for leave to introduce bills. Presentation of bills without leave of the House. First obtained. Public business.
Madam Speaker, today we will deal with a bill shortly entitled the Trafficking in Persons Prevention, Suppression and Punishment Act 2021, after which we will resume the debate, the State of Constituency debate, when we will have two speakers. MP Julian Robinson, St. Andrews Southeast, and MP Hugh Graham, St. Catherine Northwest. And so at this time, Madam Speaker, we will ask the Minister of National Security to take the bill shortly entitled the Trafficking in Persons Prevention, Suppression and Punishment Act. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, also, Madam Speaker. This evening we seek to conclude the amendments brought last week. I want to thank the leader of the opposition who made a recommendation which we have brought, will take to the House for approval in moving for the amendments to the Trafficking in Persons Prevention, Suppression and Punishment Act. The trafficking in persons is one of the modern, very heinous criminal activity, but it is known and indicated as something that, in fact, internationally provides significant funding to the criminal underworld. And while it is not yet a major activity in Jamaica, we are in a position where it could become another major risk to the state, and in providing the kind of funding to the criminal underworld we don't wish to have. The law really is designed to change the punishment, essentially, for those who are involved, to ensure that it provides a certain deterrence. Because that's what law enforcement is due to do. We are hoping that by presenting a legal framework in which the punishment is such that it deters the average from getting involved. So we are moving from the bill, which has had several amendments prior to this, and it fines for individuals who might be apprehended and are involved in trafficking in persons. We are accepting the recommendation that this should also apply to directors of companies who may have connived in allowing such activity to take place in the corporate body for which they represent, so that all who are getting directly involved in anything to do with trafficking and punishment will be subject to severe penalties. And we would hope that at this stage in our development and the criminal development, that we'll provide the police and the relevant law enforcement agencies with the tool required to really take strong action and prevent any further expansion or development of this particular crime. We know it might still be around, but because there are some very wealthy persons that are involved in this kind of activity, the returns are high, and as you improve the efficiency of your police in all areas, and especially in the dominant areas currently characterized by contraband in drugs and advanced credit fraud and gun running, we reduce that. Criminals look for additional areas of activity to earn big income, and this is an area we know that they could examine. Also, it is, in concluding, I just take note that there is a undercurrent of child abuse in this country, which is the kind of character that gets involved in trafficking. In fact, one that is quite, it's untenable. So here we are going to examine how we can improve, work with the relevant ministry, child services, sensitize our police officers, sensitize all the social workers involved to what extent we can begin the process of reducing this area, because where we have persons who are involved in, child abuse of any kind, gender, you will find it will be easy for them to go into trafficking, especially if they can find the relevant conduits and channels. And the same channels used for, drug running, gun running, can be used for trafficking. Some, of course, are a bit more sophisticated, but it's the same people are involved. So, Madam Speaker, I'm going to bring in this section of the bill. As I said, it gives me satisfaction in bringing this here, because it does strengthen our tools in dealing with what's a very horrible crime, and provides the security forces who are constantly under pressure from their criminal activity a better tool to fight this particular crime. I've accepted the recommendations as we go to the whole sitting of the House will take the amendments to include, further amendments to include the corporate body, individuals in the board of directors, the corporate bodies involved in the activity. So, Madam Speaker, if it please you, this is I want to, after the House, the an act to amend the Trafficking in Persons Prevention, Suppression and Punishment Act 2021. Yeah.
Madam Speaker, I just want to thank the Minister for having taken the time to reflect on the point that was made when the bill was being debated the last time round, and to bring an amendment to the bill to address the issue which I had raised. That issue was really to do with an inconsistency which I identified in the treatment of potential offenders who commit what you might call trafficking offences under the Act. The scheme of the bill is to eliminate the possibility of a pecuniary penalty, and so that the only penalty available on conviction is a term of imprisonment, with the court having the decision to make as to what that term should be, subject to the maximum term of years imposed by the Act. But in relation to...
Leader, we value the contribution, but because you spoke on the bill already,
right,
you can now speak on it once we get into the committee stage with
fine.
The greatest of
That's fine. Thank
no
you.
offense.
After the second reading, Madam Speaker.
So the question is that the bill and act to amend the Trafficking in Persons Prevention, Suppression and Punishment Act be now read a second time. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
A bill entitled An Act to Amend the Trafficking in Persons Prevention, Suppression and Punishment Act, read a second time.
Members, the House will now resolve itself into a committee of the whole House to consider the clauses of the bill. Members, I now put clause 1. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. I put clause 2. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. I now go to clause 3. Leader.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. There is an amendment proposed to clause, there's a new clause 3 is being inserted in the bill. That's what the amendment sheet says. And essentially it seeks to treat the person who commits a trafficking offense really through the medium of a company in the same way as an individual who commits a trafficking offense. So the amendment seeks to eliminate the possibility of a fine in the case of a director, manager, secretary, or other similar officer concerned in the management of a body corporate that has committed the offense, if that individual connived in the commission of the offense. And that was essentially the point I was trying to make. However, having the drafter having reconfigured Section 5, which this amendment is amending Section 5, that the reconfiguration of Section 5 has brought it to my attention more starkly that what the section does is to not only criminalize the individual involved in the company who connived in the commission of the offense by the company, but also would criminalize the individual who failed to exercise all diligence to prevent the commission of the offense. Now, a failure to act with diligence is normally a civil matter. So, for example, under the Companies Act, a director who doesn't exercise reasonable diligence in relation to the affairs of the company and the company suffers a loss, breaches a duty of care to the company for which that director may be liable in damages if an action is brought against the director by the company, typically, although there are procedures where shareholders may, in some circumstances, bring an action on behalf of the company. But the real point is that it's not a criminal matter. This section, which is in the Act, and what has been in the Act from the beginning, but which is now being split out, and therefore, made me wonder why it is that we would be seeking to criminalize a lack of diligence. Typically, that doesn't involve the kind of mens rea which evinces a criminal intent and elevates to a criminal liability behavior which is typically not treated as such, but is treated in a civil matter as giving rise to civil liability. So I don't know how the minister feels about it, but I would have been quite happy to amend the amendment so as to delete paragraph B of the new subsection 2 and to let paragraph A run from the chapeau. So at the end of the chapeau where it says, and to all the circumstances, it would just continue, connived in the commission of an offence under subsection 1, and then to a term of imprisonment not exceeding 20 years, full stop. And that would be the end of the provision. It wouldn't go on to criminalize a person who failed to exercise diligence. So I don't know how the minister feels about it, but it just struck me as being something which is a little bit overreaching. Obviously, it's been in here from day one. This wasn't something you introduced, but it has come to my attention because of the way in which the drafter has passed out the section into two different paragraphs, and it kind of jumped out at me that this was a bit strange. So I don't know how the minister feels about it, but from where I sit, I would be comfortable with deleting B and not criminalizing a failure to exercise diligence.
All right, got it now. I understand what the member is saying. It's just that it was in the original bill, and that is it was always in the original bill, which is really the on for it. We'd have to really repeal that part of it.
It's easy to do, Minister, because it's you're amending subsection 5. You're amending section 5 here of the Principal Act. So all it would involve is deleting the letter A before connived and making that run from the top, from the word circumstances, and putting a full stop after years and deleting B. And you would eliminate the criminalization of a failure to exercise diligence.
I think I would expect when it was being done, member, I expect you're in the House as well, not so much an oversight, but the idea was to make the penalties for being involved and even allow your company to be involved severe enough to look for greater due diligence. I would think maybe it would, given the nature of the failure to, as I said, exercise, you could remove the confinement, which would be more in line with this civil proceedings. But it would still come under a criminal activity.
I would be satisfied with that approach, Minister. So that would just suggest then, Madam Chair, that we amend the amendment so that in the new 5.2b, we delete the words after fine.
Yes.
So it would just be to a fine, full stop.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And delete the words or to a term of imprisonment not exceeding 20 years. Yeah. In B. Yeah. In B, so because that's where there's no real mens rea there.
So in fact, the person will still be facing a criminal record, but not a prison term.
Correct. And if they connived in the offence, mandatory imprisonment.
A would take care of that. They would still get the imprisonment.
Correct.
Right. But if they, by oversight, to just alert them that they have to pay attention in detail, they will in fact
fine. And the court can assess, would determine the severity of the fine based on the level of negligence that the person has displayed, essentially. Yes.
Madam Speaker, I would think that would be appropriate.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister.
Section
It's clause 3 of the bill,
Yeah.
and it's the amendment to section 5.
Yes.
And we're amending the amendment so as to put a full stop after the word fine in what would now be subsection 2B, and ending the subsection there and deleting the words that follow after the word fine.
Yep. That's pretty straightforward. The way it's extracted, easy to amend.
Yeah.
It's extracted. So that's clause 3. We don't go to.
So, members, I now put the new clause 3 as amended. No, I would think the amendment to the new clause 3. I now put the amendment to the new clause 3. And I also, those in favor? Those against? And I now put the new clause 3 as amended. Those in favor? Those against? Clause 3, 2. And I now put clause 4 and clause 5. Those in and the title and the enacting clause. And clause 6. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. The question is, members, that I do report the bill as having passed committee stage with 2 amendments. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. To the House, the bill is having passed committee stage with 2 amendments. Minister.
Madam Speaker, I now ask that the bill be read a third time.
Right. The question is, members, that the bill, an act to amend the Trafficking in Persons Prevention, Suppression and Punishment Act, be now read a third time. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
A bill entitled An Act to Amend the Trafficking in Persons Prevention, Suppression and Punishment Act, read a third time and passed.
House Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, at this point, we will resume the State of Constituency debate, and we have 2 speakers today. Mr. Julian Robinson, Member of Parliament, St. Andrews South East, and Mr. Hugh Graham, Member of Parliament, St. Catherine Northwest. The debates have been going extremely well, Madam Speaker, and of course our newly elected members of Parliament have been doing extremely well, and also the veterans. We look forward to hearing a veteran at this point. Thank you.
From St. Andrews Southeastern, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I stand before this honorable House in gratitude, first and foremost to the Almighty, for continuing to bless me with health and strength to carry out my duties to my constituents and to my country. For the 3rd time, I've been elected by the people of South East St. Andrew to continue to represent their interests. The weight of that responsibility is one that I bear with pride. I am grateful to my constituents for the confidence reposed in me, and I today commit to represent them and their interests with integrity, dignity, and accountability. St. Andrews Southeastern has a dedicated team of workers led by Councillor Andrew Swaby, who is seated in the House, our Councillor candidate Jesse James Clark, our Constituency Secretary Ivy Hill, our organizer Sonia Forbes, and many others, including the office team and a host of other volunteers who give yeoman service behind the scenes and in most cases unrecognized. And Madam Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to, on behalf of not just this side, but to thank the political workers who work to put us here. Most people assume that we do all the work, but 90% of the work is done by volunteers who are never seen, who will never have their picture taken in the newspaper, and who will never come on TV, but who dedicate their lives to keeping the democracy alive in Jamaica. I salute the dedicated workers and volunteers, named and unnamed, who keep giving up their time and talent. You are seen, you are important, and I'm thankful for your service. I also want to recognize our party president and opposition leader, Mark Golin, and to thank him for his leadership, and to thank my colleagues both here in the House and in the party for their support. And of course, Madam Speaker, I wouldn't be here without the love and support of my own family, particularly my wife and children. And I want to thank them for their patience and understanding, because we spend long hours away from our families in the pursuit of our responsibilities. Madam Speaker, in acknowledging the work of those who support us as parliamentarians, I want to make a special appeal for two categories of those workers. While I continue to stand in the gap for all workers, especially those who do not earn a livable wage in an environment where food prices and the general cost of living soar, today I would like to highlight those who work right here in Gordon House and those who provide direct support to us as parliamentarians. Madam Speaker, the parliamentary support staff in this very House are committed to excellence. They work extremely long hours for very low wages. Some of them earn as little as $10,000 per week. And Madam Speaker, when we meet late in the night, close to the 8 o'clock curfew hour, they have to figure out how they're going to reach home, sometimes when public transportation is no longer available. I am appealing that we reassess how we categorize this worker, the parliamentary support staff, and we explore ways in which we can uplift and improve their situation. The second category, Madam Speaker, are the drivers and the secretaries who work directly with members of Parliament. Many of them have worked for years and have no entitlement to a pension at the end of their service, even when they reach retirement age. For many, it is difficult, and I would say almost impossible, for them to find alternative employment once they have worked closely with a member of Parliament for 10, 20, 30 years. So they really have no other source of earning an income when they have gotten to retirement age. Madam Speaker, I'm proposing that in the same way we qualify for pension having served 2 terms, that we institute a system where drivers and secretaries are eligible for pension if they serve for a minimum of 2 terms with a member of Parliament. Madam Speaker, I can't leave the area of public sector workers without acknowledging the work of the security forces, and in particular, the police and soldiers. I am the only member of Parliament with a legitimate garrison. Up Park Camp, the headquarters of JDF, is in my constituency. Or is I not going to take yours from you? And in addition to JDF, I also have Harman Barracks and a large number of police posts. I have 2 garrisons. And Madam Speaker, in a society that is plagued by high crime rates, I want to acknowledge and salute the men and women of the JDF and the JCF who on a daily basis put their lives on the line to ensure that we are kept safe. And while I'm not their trade union officer, and I'm not here to argue on their behalf, at some point we have to look at the salaries that are paid to our police officers. I saw a salary slip of an entry-level police, I don't even know if he's a constable. Before tax, it was $70,000. After tax, and I checked to see whether he had any loans or anything, he was taking home $46,000 a month. Now the reality is we can't ask people to literally put their lives on the line for $46,000 a month. But that is the reality. That is the reality of many of our police personnel. Madam Speaker, before I get into the meat of my presentation, I would like to give an account of the things I've done in Southeast St. Andrew to help my constituents get through the COVID-19 pandemic. In the early days from last year, we distributed masks and hand sanitizers, and we later provided care packages to the neediest, the elderly, those with restricted mobility, and those who had lost their jobs or livelihood. Those efforts are ongoing. Also, from the very start of the pandemic, we have run a continuous public education campaign using town criers and social media. Since last year, our town crier has traversed the entire constituency regularly with messages about mask wearing, hand washing, and physical distancing. We have since tweaked our messaging to bring relevant, factual, and practical information about vaccines, encouraging people to get vaccinated, telling them where to go, and trying to counter the disinformation. Madam Speaker, we have pushed hard to get people to take the vaccines. While a number of the vaccination sites are in close proximity to my own constituency, we have also provided transportation where needed, as well as assisted persons in completing the online appointments. I have personally, Madam Speaker, spent many hours meeting, receiving constituents at vaccination centers. I've been to the national arena on many occasions. And Madam Speaker, even though I never organized it, wherever I saw a need to intervene to ensure that the process ran smoothly, I did. And I'm saying it because it's important for the country to know that on the issue of vaccinations, there's no divide. We have gone out there with enthusiasm, with purpose, to encourage persons to get vaccinated. Until this pandemic is over, we will continue to encourage all the things that the health professionals recommend: the mask wearing, the hand sanitizing, the social distancing, and of course the vaccinations. Madam Speaker, from early last year, when face-to-face school was disrupted by COVID, I initiated and implemented a public Wi-Fi hotspot in the community of Swallowfield, which is still operational today. The Universal Service Fund has completed one of the 3 public Wi-Fi hotspots in the community of Jakes Road. We are grateful for it, and we look forward to the other 2, which are scheduled to be completed. Madam Speaker, when I was first elected to this Honourable House on December 29, 2011, I made a commitment to serve my constituents with the principles of accountability, transparency, and participatory democracy. Every year since first being elected, I've done an annual constituency report, even though there's no requirement to do so. That report details the expenditures undertaken from the Constituency Development Fund, as well as other projects and programs implemented. All 9 of my annual reports can be viewed on my website at julianjrobinson.com. I've also made it a regular practice to host annual Constituency Development Fund consultations to explain how the CDA process works and to get feedback from my constituents on their needs. I've done that every year, and even this year, with the limitations of COVID, we utilize the Zoom platform and we had our virtual consultation. So, Madam Speaker, I'm proud to say that in terms of accountability, transparency, and participatory democracy, I haven't just talked the talk on this issue, I have walked the walk and will continue to do so. Madam Speaker, when I was first elected as a Member of Parliament, I reflected on how best I could serve my constituents, given the multiplicity of needs and the limited resources available through the CDF. Given that it's almost impossible for any MP to undertake any large-scale infrastructure project without direct central government support, I decided to use the majority of the resources available to me in the areas of education and training. Like many of my colleagues in the House, I provided educational support to students at the basic, primary, secondary, and tertiary levels. I have very deliberately skewed the majority of my resources to support students at the primary and secondary levels, as I believe it is critical that those students matriculate and achieve that basic level of education. While ideally I would want to do more for students at the tertiary level, it is very difficult given the relatively high tuition fee levels. If you think of the cheapest program at a university per semester is about $150,000 per semester, and it's difficult where you have large numbers of tertiary students who are making requests, even when you spend a significant percentage of the CDF in that regard. Madam Speaker, I think at an opportune time, and the Minister of Education is here, that the House must have a fulsome discussion on how we fund tertiary education. The reality is there are too many qualified students who are matriculating who simply cannot afford to pay the fees to access tertiary education. And while the Student Loan Bureau is doing the best they can, there is still a huge gap that exists there. In addition to the support from the CDF, I have worked closely with the Heart Trust NTA under the National Unattached Youth Program to provide training opportunities for my constituents. In executing this program, I have chosen partners who were already in the business of providing training and had the infrastructure to facilitate it. So, for example, we use 3 partners in my constituency. The Cornerstone Ministries, which is on Colony Avenue, almost opposite Woolmer's Prep School, Exeter Community College, which is on Mountain View Avenue, and the International University of the Caribbean, which is on Old Hope Road by Lady Musgrave. Very deliberately, those 3 locations were chosen because it allows anybody from within the constituency to get to a location by only paying 1 bus or taxi fare, regardless of where you are. And it covers the geography of the constituency. This year, Madam Speaker, we had a program which ran from January to September with 105 students enrolled, 30 at Cornerstone, 60 at Exeter, and 15 at IUC. The courses included training in marketable, high-demand skills that would lead to employment after graduation. The courses included digital animation. 15 minutes done already?
Madam Speaker, I ask that the Speaker be allowed sufficient time to complete his presentation. Thank you.
The question before the House is that the member be given sufficient time to complete his presentation. Those in favour? Those against? The ayes have it.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, members. The courses that were offered included digital animation, motor vehicle repairs, allied healthcare, which is a very popular one because many of these students are attracted not just to local opportunities, but to overseas opportunities, cosmetology, electrical installation, computer repairs, and food preparation. Of the 105 students who registered at the start of the program, 80 have started assessments which would be completed in the month of November. which means we have just about 80% who would have gone through to do the assessments. The other 25 who didn't complete, the reasons given were either persons who found jobs during the courses or because of issues with the timely payment of the stipends, meaning there were delays with the payments of the stipends, they dropped out. And it is an issue which we have to address because this program caters to the most vulnerable in our society, and they are paid in the lag after they attend, and when that payment is delayed, they simply don't have the resources to get to school. They just can't. And so as a result, they just don't. They don't. And there are a number of reasons why the payments are late, but the reality is it has had an impact on those attending. As a constituency with a large number of young people, these and other programs which seek to engage the youth and offer specialized training with the potential for employment are encouraged and supported. Going forward, we intend to increase the number of young people in training, especially, as I mentioned, in the area of allied health care, as the need for health care support workers has grown exponentially as the pandemic continues to affect the nation. It is important that we continue to prepare and equip our young people for the world of work. It is also important that we help our parents through useful programs so that they can guide their children in making sensible choices. If we fail to do so, we face a future of uncertainty. Madam Speaker, I normally host on an annual basis summer camps in our major communities throughout the constituency. We weren't able to do it last year because of COVID, but this year we did one summer camp in the Swallowfield community where I partnered with the Swallowfield Chapel and the Church of God of Prophecy on Old Hope Road. We were able to cater to 60 students aged 8 to 12 years old, and it covered a mix of, it was a Christian-based camp, and it covered social and emotional support, literacy, language, numeracy and arithmetic, arts and craft and sport, and the spiritual aspect. In addition to the camp for the kids, we also did parenting workshops to ensure that the parents and guardians develop healthy parenting skills and practices. Madam Speaker, we have started work to establish the Nannyville Sports and Entertainment Park. This is a collaborative public-private sector partnership, and if you look at the screen in front of you, you will see what we intend to convert what is currently a dust bowl into. We have gotten support already from the Carib Cement Company that has started a walking trail which will go around the facility. We have also gotten support from the Sports Development Foundation that has provided some funding to acquire the turf, which has been ordered and is on its way to Jamaica. And we are in discussions with TPDCO about getting additional support. I see my neighbor looking at the drawing. So Mountain View Avenue would be to the right of where you see those stands. Those stands will have shops which will be beneath the stands, which will be rented to entrepreneurs for them to provide goods and services. We have 3 fields. The idea is to rent out 2 of the fields and have 1 reserved for the community. When we look at turf fields in the corporate area, there is one at Ballers, there's one up at Duns Red Hills Road, there's another one at Shortwood. But there's no turf field in the eastern section of the corporate area. What we want to make this, Madam Speaker, is a place where people can come and play football. But beyond football, we want the youth them come at 10 o'clock at night time and play football and line and have a good time. And the shops will encourage entrepreneurs who can cater to those persons coming to play football. But also importantly, we see it as an opportunity with cruise shipping coming to Port Royal as a way to attract persons who may want a taste of Jamaica and a part of our culture. So we're not there yet, but we have already gotten commitments from private investors. We have gotten commitments from private investors who will build the stands. So the public side would be hopefully the support to get the turf in. The private investors will build the stands. They will run it. There would be a lease arrangement with the community. So we are establishing a charitable organization that would lease the facility, and then the private investors would lease it from them, and it would be run as a commercial venture. I very deliberately say a commercial venture because my experiences with community-based ventures of this nature is that they're not sustainable. Somebody have to make sure when the man them come and play, them pay the $1,000 to collect the fees so that you can maintain the facility. If you try to do it as a community-based thing, in a year or two, the thing is going to run down. So, Madam Speaker, we believe this project will change the face, not just of Nannyville, but the eastern end of the corporate area. We have a health center there. We have a community center there, which we're going to be putting in a computer lab plus free Wi-Fi. So it will become a hub for not just people in the community, but persons from the entire Mountain View belt. Nanny Villas. And my neighbor from Eastern St. Andrew, I would say that many of her constituents come over to the health center at Nannyville and use it as one of those facilities. And it is, and I say that as an important part of breaking down the barriers of crime. When people come to areas where they can access services and interact. We have a peaceful constituency. Madam Speaker, since the commencement of this debate, we have heard of colleagues speaking of significant sums of monies being spent on various infrastructure projects in their constituencies. Some colleagues are fortunate to boast of sums in the hundreds of millions, while others can't. In 2016, arising from the public outrage at the vast amount of money spent on bushing, the Prime Minister implemented a program where the sum of $15 million is allocated to each MP in December to undertake road patching, disaster mitigation, and beautification works. Outside of the CDF, that is the only program that an MP can definitively depend on to do small-scale road and gully repairs. Of course, MPs can lobby and make representation to the NWA and to the portfolio minister responsible for works. But, Madam Speaker, this is not a tenable situation. There's an urgent need to address the state of roadways, verges, and gullies, not just in my constituency, but across the island. Some are far worse than others. And, Madam Speaker, I am calling for a specific allocation to be made available to all MPs. All 63 MPs. And I want to be clear, I'm not asking for an addition to the CDF. This would have to be managed through the National Works Agency, where there would be proper accountability with the NWA as the implementing agency. But, Madam Speaker, it cannot be that members of Parliament have to go cap in hand to the NWA or portfolio minister to get basic repairs done in their constituency. It can't. It's not a tenable situation. Madam Speaker, I want to then shift to the issue of developments within my constituency. Over the last 3 to 4 years, there's been a significant increase in the number of new residential and commercial developments in the corporate area, and in particular in sections of my constituency like New Kingston, Seymour Lands, and the Golden Triangle. Almost on a weekly basis, single-family dwelling homes are being demolished to give rise to multi-story townhouse and apartment complexes. These developments have been good for the economy as they have driven the boom in the construction industry, which has employed a lot of people and which has remained resilient even during the COVID turndown. However, Madam Speaker, for residents who live in these communities, there are a number of issues that arise. First, the developments often take place with no notice or consultation with neighbors, particularly where there's an approval for a change in the zoning from residential to commercial. And in many cases, there are clear violations of zoning rules. Madam Speaker, I can give you examples of someone one day who sees a home, the hoarding, the zinc put up around their neighbor's house. The house is demolished, and literally it can be a 5-story building that is being built right next to them with no notice, no consultation whatsoever. The developers often ignore the guidelines and requirements from state agencies with impunity. They increase densities and the number of rooms beyond what is approved. They build more floors than what is agreed, and they ignore the setbacks, which ensure privacy for neighbors. So where you're supposed to have a setback, it is built right next to your wall, and so you can't go in your backyard anymore. A lady can't hang out things on her line anymore. It changes the quality of your life in a major way. Public infrastructure such as roads are often damaged during construction and never return to their original condition. And there is inadequate water and sewage infrastructure to deal with the increased density of the rooms that have been added. In addition to the potential traffic issues which arise when you take what would have been a single-family home and you put a multi-story apartment complex. Madam Speaker, residents are more often than not powerless to halt these breaches. The state agencies are slow to respond, if they even do. And in most cases, residents have to resort to expensive litigation at their personal costs to seek redress. The residents are also fearful of speaking out against these breaches because they feel they're going up against very powerful vested interests. To be clear, Madam Speaker, I support development and I support the right of developers who make investments for a return. However, the way it is currently being done infringes the rights of homeowners in these communities, changes the character of neighborhoods, and violates privacy rights. Madam Speaker, I'll give you one example. It is in the member for Eastern St. Andrews constituency, but I grew up in Hope Pastures. But on Charlemont Drive, there are at least, by my count, about 15 new developments that have been done in the last 2 years. Right? Now, it's one thing when a development is done 2-story, but when you have something that goes up 5 stories in a community where the highest house is 2 stories, it changes the character of the neighborhood. And then what happens to that neighbor? You know what happens? In reality, those people are forced to sell to developers because they don't want to live beside a 5-story house or apartment building because they don't have no more privacy. So eventually what they do, the next place is snapped up by another developer. So if you drive on Charlemont now, the Charlemont now is different from the Charlemont 2 years ago. Same with Dillsbury. Russell Heights is becoming that as well. And these have gone unchecked. Unchecked.
Ligony Avenue.
Ligony Avenue, Lower Paddington is another one. Madam Speaker, we have to remember there are people who bought their houses 30, 40 years ago who continue to live in their homes and their life is a misery. Apart from the issues during construction where there are inconvenience, their quality of life has diminished permanently. Madam Speaker, no matter how important the economic value of these investments, we cannot continue to operate like it's the Wild Wild West. The state agencies that are charged with the responsibility of holding developers accountable are failing the residents in these communities. Something must be done. Something must be done urgently to ensure that there is adequate and appropriate balance and that residents' rights are respected. Madam Speaker, over the past 6 months, I participated in meetings with residents from a number of citizens associations and community groups on these issues. The associations and groups are not just restricted to my own constituency, but include the Arcadia Citizens Association, the Beverly Hills Citizens Association, Charlemont Drive Association, the Cunningham, Her, McKinley, Latham Avenue Neighborhood Watch, the Eastwood Park Garden Citizens Association, the Forest Hill Association, the Golden Triangle Neighborhood Watch, the Hope Pasture Citizens Association, the Norbrook Citizens Association, the Paddington Terrace Citizens Association, and the Whitcomb Neighborhood Association. These groups have written to the chairman of the Infrastructure Committee, and I just noticed that you have sent around a notice asking us to give permission for them to come before the committee. And I encourage all members to give them a hearing so that we can understand the nature of the issues that are affecting a multitude. I deliberately listed them because the issues are not confined to 1 or 2 communities. It is across the board, and it continues unfettered. Madam Speaker, it is important that in the pursuit that we support residents in their pursuit of orderly, well-regulated, and consultative development. And it is important that while these developments are going on, and we have leadership right now in Scotland at COP, that we ensure that green spaces are built as well, that we enforce these things. And unfortunately, again, Madam Speaker, those things are not being done. Madam Speaker, I close where I started, with gratitude. While there's much left to be done in my constituency, I'm grateful for the opportunity to share some of the things we have been able to achieve in this debate in the limited time that has been afforded to me. I thank all present today for your attention, and with humility I invite you to visit my website, which is julianjrobinson.com, to see firsthand our commitment to accountability, transparency, and participatory democracy, which defines my representation in Southeast St. Andrew. Thank you very much, Madam.
Member from St. Catherine North Western.
Madam Speaker, I begin my presentation today. See, I'm so excited.
Permission
to speak.
Permission is granted.
I begin my presentation today, Madam Speaker, with an expression of gratitude to the Almighty God, without whom I would not be standing here, as He has allowed me to speak for the second time in this honorable House. And Madam Speaker, I speak on behalf of my people, my family of Northwest St. Catherine. Madam Speaker, usually they are the first persons I speak to in the mornings and the last before I fall asleep at night. And you know how that is, right, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, I've been their Member of Parliament for just over 1 year. And again, I say thank you to my Northwest St. Catherine family for allowing Hugo to serve you. Madam Speaker, I want to acknowledge and recognize my mother, 89 years old and still going. To God be praised. Madam Speaker, her fervent prayers when I wanted to become a dread, I think that helped me to get a bald head. But it has strengthened me throughout the years. And to my 4 children, I believe represented by one, I can hardly see her, she's like here. I thank them and I thank you, Anna, for your patience and sacrifice as the workload grew heavier and heavier. And I must state, Madam Speaker, that I'm extremely proud of her and all my 4 children. I thank them. Madam Speaker, to my foundational friends, as friends from high school and pre-high school, primary school that I grew up with and still with me, I acknowledge them for have been with me and providing unwavering support to me. I also want to thank the leadership of the constituency and the constituency executive and my personal management team, who together, they supported me throughout this journey and continue to do so sacrificially. With humility, Madam Speaker, I could not be here speaking in this honorable house without the 7-star General, the Honorable Bobby Pickersgill, OJ. On this side of the House, Madam Speaker, we fondly refer to him as Chairman for Life, who has earned his reputation by being with his people and for his people. Madam Speaker, since Jack Stevenson, we have not lost the constituency of Northwest St. Catherine, and I have the awesome responsibility to ensure it remains that way. Madam Speaker, I could not end this segment of my presentation without acknowledging my leader, the 6th President of the People's National Party, Mark Comrade Golden. I wish you well. Yes, Madam Speaker, the great People's National Party, and I pause to reflect on the statue of a man in the Right Honorable Norman Washington Manley, who, through his political wisdom, helped to found the party, which still embraces and arguably leads the most of the progressive changes in Jamaica, land we love. Madam Speaker, I'm reminded of the 2nd verse of my party song, Jamaica Rise. The road may be dreary, the barriers strong, or progress may falter and energies wane. But steadfast in spirit, our goals we will gain, a nobler Jamaica, a loftier race, which I now adopt as my own. I want to use this opportunity to acknowledge the efforts of the hard-working staff of the Parliament, who play an integral part in this Honourable House by ensuring that each member is properly informed, nourished, and always ready to assist at any time and in any way possible. Madam Speaker, I thank you for your patience and your understanding in providing the guidance for our deliberations, our debates, and decisions. I thank you, Madam Speaker. And finally, I want to acknowledge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle for their many courtesies and kindness since I was elected in this House 1 year ago. Madam Speaker, I have the responsibility to report to the country on my stewardship in my role as a Member of Parliament for Northwest St. Catherine, my family. But before I begin, permit me to give two simple affirmations. I believe the fundamental and overarching first principle of my representation is to support my constituents to the best of my ability. Second, we rise by lifting others. What is the essence of life, Madam Speaker? Apart from to serve others and to do good. So, to my Northwest family, this report is for you as I continue to devise and implement strategies that will provide a roadmap to fast-track the achievements of the vision of the constituency, to aim higher and to write a new chapter. Madam Speaker, at this unprecedented time of COVID-19 pandemic, the challenges we faced in my first year as an elected representative were awesome and at times well nigh of impossible. But, Madam Speaker, it was a rallying efforts of the councillors, the constituency executive, the dedicated volunteers, and my constituents that brought us thus far. Thank you. While adhering to the COVID-19 protocols, they made the task of service seamlessly. Indeed, teamwork allocates the effort evenly and multiplies the effect. Throughout this period, my feet were grounded on St. Mark, no pun intended. I don't think you were around biblical back in those days. Chapter 9, verse 35. If anyone wants to be first, he must be the last of all and the servant of all. And as I often say, I did not come into politics for honors or for glory. I came into politics to work and serve the people. Madam Speaker, there were challenging times and not without bitter moments. In fact, Madam Speaker, like others of us, I have lost close members to COVID-19. but I never wavered from my duty to serve my Northwest St. Catherine family. Comrades and Labourites alike, Madam Speaker. In fact, if you were nowhere, Madam Speaker, Hugo is here to serve you. Madam Speaker, I begin my report to this Honourable House on vaccination. I think that's where we are, that's where all our lives are these days. Fed up and tired, outside we say, Madam Speaker, the key to ending this pandemic is vaccinating our people. Celebrations and jubilations for Christmas season. My Northwest family will lighten up Linstead Bridge again. Outside we say, get vaxxed, Madam Speaker. I want my family from Northwest St. Catherine to enjoy meeting up at their bars and round robins without constant worry of blue lights coming, Madam Speaker. It is straightforward. We will get our lives back if we get vaxxed. Madam Speaker, I miss the buzz in the Linstead market and the big tunes of the selectors across the constituency. I miss holding a reasoning with the residents of Rose Duncan Park. Dennis, I think you know about that. The street people, as I call them, Madam Speaker. But they are my people. Because if it wasn't for the help of God, I would have been there too. But, Madam Speaker, even some of those people took the one job, Johnson & Johnson. But, Madam Speaker, they don't have IDs or they don't get letters from JP. So we have to find a way to keep them safe as well. Madam Speaker, I duly recognize the government efforts in implementing the national vaccination program nationwide. Unfortunately, within the boundaries of my constituency, it is not affordable for persons to travel to the permanent sites established by the Ministry of Health. Madam Speaker, we therefore subscribe to the need for partnership and integrated or joined-up approach to achieving our overarching goal of herd immunity. As a result, we have organized several vaccination blitz supported by and in collaboration with the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Local Government. Madam Speaker, can I seek your permission to play a promotional jingle that we use to support? And I also crave the indulgence of the members of the House to have it. I'm following you, Lisa.
Look me, but me no want her. So anybody see her, tell her stay far.
My people, Brammy Clark Park, Goat Pen, Yorton Sports Complex, this over there with a day call. Get vax, come take the job. We have to protect mama, papa, granny, grandpa, picking up to go to school, food have to eat, work have to do. October 3rd, Sunday, 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. Don't forget your ID. Big Sound, Zeneca iPod, with Hugo Bass as the flagman and MOH as the selector. Ronnie, come take the job so we can live again. You say it already, I'm not going to say it again. Brammy Clark Park, Yorton Sports Complex, a.k.a. Goat Pen, Sunday, October 3rd, 10 to 3. Don't forget your ID. Get vax. Come take the job because outside we say.
Madam Speaker, I think it is important that all of us get on this train because our people need to be safe and they need to be healthy.
Madam Speaker, I ask that the member be allowed sufficient time to complete his presentation.
Members, the question before this House is that the member be given sufficient time to complete his presentation. Those in favor? Those against, the ayes have it. Member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, members. But, Madam Speaker, we have to educate our people as they have strong cultural influences. My friend, Madam Speaker, Lady Tikian, who believes in the bush, and the bush is the cure, I have held a reasoning with her, saying that the vaccine protects and the bush can make her happy. So they both work together. So she doesn't have to work between the bush or the vaccine. So take the vaccine and she's happy to go on with her remedies. As we know, all the persons from rural community, we know about the cerasee and all of these bush things, the fever grass and all of those things. And that's the reality of our rural people. Madam Speaker, we have had remarkable turnout from our rural small communities who avail themselves to be vaccinated. Some of the sites were Lloydasville Primary School, we had 155. Yorton Sports Complex, 201. Orangefield Community Center, 40. Polyground Primary, 23. Mount Rossa Primary School, 32. Ty Dixon Infant and Primary, 30. McGrath High School, 160. We had 2 blitzes, 112, and the second 160. Linstead Market, we had a mobile vaccination unit. We got 206, and that included some of the street people. Windalco, 171. Worthy Park, 112. And the permanent vaccination site at Linstead Anglican Church, we had 12,321, a total of 13,563, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I will redouble my efforts to fulfill the goal of vaccinating the numbers required to obtain herd immunity and ensure that our people stay healthy. My family of Northwest St. Catherine, I am appealing to you to continue to take the job. Outside we say, let's get connected. Madam Speaker, we cannot become weary in well-doing. Let me now move to welfare. Madam Speaker, as we connect with the vaccine, we will inevitably see an exodus for the movement of job people or people from inside to outside. So we have to get the vaccination, Madam Speaker, we have to be vaccinated. This is of paramount importance as, Madam Speaker, COVID-19 has worsened the tremendous needs of our citizens and has caused great hardship to the marginalized and working poor. With the upsurge of the recent numbers, there have been unfortunate deaths within the constituency, such that the welfare funds have been exhausted. Madam Speaker, over the period, we delivered 3,000 care packages with funds allocated through the Constituency Development Fund, the Ministry of Labour and Social Services, the Tourism Development Company, and the Ministry of Finance, and other donations to meet the needs of the constituents. Madam Speaker, let me now speak about the economic enablement for small businesses. As I stated earlier, the COVID-19 pandemic has created and exacerbated vulnerabilities. Many households cannot satisfy their basic needs and are crying out for an exodus. Madam Speaker, we need to get vaxxed. I can't say that too many times. An economic enablement program of $4 million from the Constituency Development Fund and the Ministry of Labour and Social Services under the Social Intervention Program will assist persons like my friend, Lady Tikian, who owns a corner shop, and Masspot, a cabinet maker, who are both experiencing financial hardships. Madam Speaker, assistance to these micro-businesses will include replenishment of stocks for grocery shops operators, materials for cabinet makers, and support for other fledgling businesses. Let me now turn to sanitization. Madam Speaker, with the advent of the pandemic, we have installed over 20 hand wash stations in and around the town of Linstead and the constituency at a cost of approximately $500,000. This serves to assist the process in keeping our people healthy and promoting community-based hygiene practices, thus reducing the incidences of communicable disease like COVID-19. But, Madam Speaker, while we promote healthy practices, we are challenged by our garbage collection. Madam Speaker, you know, I'm going to ascribe the garbage collection to you, as you know that the state is responsible for garbage collection. So, Madam Speaker, as you know, we have our own, and we're good. You have your good and bad, and part of the bad is that we're struggling with garbage collection. Madam Speaker, there's a popular American native proverb that states, I quote, "We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children." The profound message here is I need to take care of the town of Linstead and indeed the constituency so that I can pass on a clean and healthy environment to future generations. Madam Speaker, have you ever felt abandoned? I hope not. I really do. But that is how my Northwest family feels as they impatiently wait to have their garbage collected. Madam Speaker, regular garbage collection is more honored in the breach than in the observance. As my constituents would say, enough is enough. So we need some help. Madam Speaker, the time is now for us to take seriously our role and responsibility in promoting and protecting the environment. As a result, we have distributed over 200 garbage drums in the constituency and expanded 2 garbage receptacles in the town of Linstead to help to deal with this matter at a cost of just over $500,000. Let me now move to water, Madam Speaker. Water is, without doubt, life. Its impact on sustainable development is without parallel, and it is critical for the maintenance of environmental and human health. The provision of water is a focal point for me to meet the needs of the constituents, particularly within deep rural communities. Madam Speaker, as I reported previously, the National Water Commission is in the process of upgrading the potable water system in the Jericho pumping station to provide water to several communities. These communities include Orangefield, Giddon, Polyground, Charlton, and Negro House. This is a 2-year project to be done in 4 phases and to be completed in 2022, 2 of which have already been completed. Madam Speaker, I was informed that this project cost over $3 million. So I don't see my opposite member to give him a $3 million thanks for this project. But in his absence, I'll say thanks, Minister Warmington, for assisting and for pushing this project forward. Right, 300 million. 300 million. Jamaican dollars. Madam Speaker, as you know, the constituents' appetite are insatiable. But at the risk of not sounding ungrateful, I have to represent their demands. Madam Speaker, there's an area in my constituency by the name of Pennington that I get the most beating from because of the lack of water. So, Madam Speaker, I want to ask Member Mackenzie, I'm not seeing him, if he could have the Rural Water Supply Limited to look at this area to see what can be done. I move to agriculture, Madam Speaker. I want to take this opportunity to recognize Farmer Munster of Loyalsville. Madam Speaker, he has placed farming on a new level. He has subsequently set a standard leading to the expansion of produce to local markets and enhancing revenues while promoting the development of small businesses within this rural community. Madam Speaker, we have to emphasize supplying farmers with livestock and other agricultural supplies to start and sustain their agricultural livelihood. This initiative came out of the reality that primary enterprise within our rural communities is farming. Madam Speaker, I understand that duck rearing is a good business. However, Madam Speaker, we're challenged as where we have water, we don't have land. And where we have land, we don't have water. Therefore, Madam Speaker, it's important for us to have water in these rural communities. If we were able to provide water to these rural communities, we will be able to expand our agricultural base, and this will help to alleviate rural poverty and then experience the real movement of your people. Madam Speaker, I want to commend RADA in promoting agriculture in our rural communities. On that note, Madam Speaker, 40 constituents received chickens and feed at a cost of just about $800,000 Jamaican. 30 farmers received pigs and feed and medication through the revolving pig project from the Ministry of Agriculture, or the new minister, at a cost again about $800,000. 80 farmers received agricultural supplies of feed and fertilizers. 10 farmers received tanks and drip irrigation systems. $700,000 was allocated by the Ministry of Agriculture to increase agricultural production for farmers who suffered in the recent rainy season. 750. So I leave out the 50,000. 750,000, Madam Speaker. The minister has called me out on it. Madam Speaker, the Yorton JBI community has benefited from the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, JISTV, to construct a greenhouse cluster of 20 greenhouses on lands at the riverhead, which they were given access to by Windalco. This is set to benefit in excess of 100 farmers. Onto the coveted Overseas Farm Work Program. Madam Speaker, 80 persons were submitted to this program, of which 10 persons have already left for the program. Madam Speaker, you know, it is funny. Some of these people are hesitant to take the vaccine and to be vaccinated. As they go to foreign, or as they hear about the farmer program, Madam Speaker, I'm ready. So, Madam Speaker, I don't know what is happening to our people. Madam Speaker, it seems like TikTok running their lives, because they see that's where they get all their information from. So maybe, Madam Speaker, we need to get on TikTok to give information as well, since that's where they seem to get their information from. A big thank you to Minister Samuda for these opportunities for my local farmers. Agricultural development requires the development of other infrastructure, such as roads, to facilitate transporting of produce and thus promoting economic growth. That now takes me to roads, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the baddest thing, a road. Whether farm road, parochial road, main road, this is a sore point in my constituency. And I'm sure that members from the other side can relate to that. Madam Speaker, many of the roads within my constituency are in need of repair and proper maintenance. With the recent flood rains, they suffered more damage, creating chaos in some areas of the constituency. But, Madam Speaker, as I said before, my colleagues on both sides of this honorable House would agree that all our raw materials for local industries come from rural areas. We, the rural MPs, need more consideration for rural farm roads rehabilitation, such as Cockrow, Newhall, Pennington roads. These are very important farm roads to me, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I acknowledge the strides made to improve rural infrastructure. But when it comes to road, Madam Speaker, the constituents don't care whether it's a farm road or an NWA road. Madam Speaker, they travel with 2 pairs of shoes. One to walk on the road and the other to put on when they reach the church. To compound this, Madam Speaker, the taxes only drop them part way, and then they have to walk the rest of the way because the roads are so bad. Madam Speaker, I always remember that a former president of the United States said, "The road to development is the development of roads. Madam Speaker, I acknowledge that many roads in the constituency are parochial roads. Only a paltry few belong to NAA. Madam Speaker, but when people want road and road repairs, they don't care about the ownership and the buck stops with the Member of Parliament. I tell you, Madam Speaker, the baddest problem, a road. So, Madam Speaker, we had some patching done during Christmas season last year on the Jericho-Orangefield Road, the Victoria-Banbury Road, and more recently, the town of Linstead, as well as Werder Park, Loidersville Road. Madam Speaker, it was promised, and I believe it is near fruition, the Waterloo Road. And I am not seeing Minister Warmington. And in this regard, Madam Speaker, I want to thank Minister Warmington as my political mentor would say, an attitude of gratitude can make my life a beatitude. So I want to thank him for his help. Madam Speaker, since I'm in a thankful mood, I also wanted to thank Minister Montague and the JBI for funding through the Bauxite Communities Fund, valued at $8 million. Of course, Madam Speaker, I will proudly remind this House that the fund is a creation of the People's National Party using the proceeds from the Bauxite levy. The patching includes York Street Main Road and Yorkton to Polyground. Madam Speaker, through the National Housing Trust Scheme Upgrading Program that the Prime Minister announced more than 2 years ago to date, nothing has been done to the scheme roads in Charlemont Housing Scheme nor the White House Housing Scheme. Not meaning to speak behind his back, Madam Speaker, because I know he's not here. But I wish him well, and I hope that he returns safely and he will bring back goodies when he's coming for us. Because you know, Madam Speaker, as Jamaica, we like people go to foreign to bring back stuff for us. But, Madam Speaker, like Bob Marley, I don't want to wait in vain. Not for the goodies that he will bring back, but for the projects that he has promised. Madam Speaker, let me not forget to also request an update on the New Works Housing Scheme sewage project under the same program. Let me now move to our physical infrastructure. Madam Speaker, the Spruce Up Jamaica program being undertaken by the Tourism Development Company, TPDCO, has enabled the construction of the Orangefield multipurpose court valued at $4 million. I must say thank you to Minister Bartlett. Madam Speaker, I hope that the members of the community will get vaxxed so that they can enjoy these facilities as soon as we are allowed to go outside. Movements of your people, Madam Speaker. We need to get vaxxed so we can go outside. Outside, we say. I now move to persons with disabilities. Madam Speaker, in October, we celebrated National Disability Employment Awareness under the theme, Inclusion Drives Innovation. We have recognized the members of this community within our Northwest St. Catherine family, and it is my sworn duty to make the town more diversified and inclusive. Madam Speaker, I was taken on a tour with an admirable lady who was not allowed her physical disability to deter her from achieving her goals. The tour highlighted the lack of inclusiveness of the town for persons with disabilities, including the areas such as the courthouse, the police station, the post office, and believe it or not, Madam Speaker, you could say the all-important electoral office of Jamaica. Madam Speaker, I ask for support to ensure that the town, in particular, these public buildings, are made more accessible to the persons with disabilities and thus enabling them to have the same opportunities to participate in the everyday aspect of life. Let's move to housing, Madam Speaker. Housing solutions is another major emphasis within the constituency. I am happy to state that 50 households through the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation receive housing assistance for $1.5 million. Madam Speaker, 5 constituents were approved under the new social housing program, NSHP HOPE, at a cost of the housing in excess of $25 million. And again, I want to say thank you to, as I call him, affectionately known Wami, because I think he's the minister in charge. I now move to youth empowerment. The youths are in fact the future as well as society's backbone. Madam Speaker, they are facing some of the worst challenges in their young lives. I speak specifically to the interruption of their educational process in this unprecedented time. Therefore, Madam Speaker, we opened the constituency office to facilitate enrichment programs for CXC and CAPE students. The students were able to access internet connectivity for online learning. And in fact, we upgraded the package to a stable, high-speed internet service, 15 megabytes of data, to facilitate uninterrupted service for the students and their tutors during these enrichment sessions. Madam Speaker, we have a thriving, ambitious group of scholars from tertiary institutions who reside within our constituency and are willing to give back to their community. I want to big up Aliana, a third-year medical student from Rosal, who single-handedly organized and led this initiative to successfully conclude subjects that were taught: chemistry, physics, IT. And as you know, Madam Speaker, these science subjects are not easily gravitated to. Most people tend to gravitate to the arts. So I really want to big her up, take on these projects and carry them to fruition. Madam Speaker, we created 2 classrooms of 10 students per shift, each student 6 feet apart. These classes were held 3 times per day in different subject areas. All students passed and moved on to further their education, with 1 student being awarded outstanding performance. I am proud of them, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in order to assist the youths of Northwest, we are collaborating with the Heart Trust, NTA, under the social intervention program called the National Unattached Youth, NUYP. Madam Speaker, 200 persons will be enrolled for training in January 2022. And Madam Speaker, as we say on this side, don't stop the progress. And now, the best for last is education. Madam Speaker, let us recall the words of the great Bob Marley. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Madam Speaker, one of the essential elements that help to create better societies and give a sense of freedom is education. A society of justice, a society of opportunity, an empowered society, an educated society. Let us not forget, Madam Speaker, these phrases that were clearly reflected the aspirations which our iconic leader, the late Most Honorable Michael Manley, articulated for Jamaica, land we love. He gracefully created an educational revolution as he embarked upon a system of free education in this country that I benefited from as well, Madam Speaker. Not bench on Michael Manley is afraid to Madam Speaker, over 120 students at the tertiary level received tuition assistance through the Constituency Development Fund. And Madam Speaker, I can report that 3 students have informed me that they have successfully completed their degrees and are currently employed in the field of their choice, including 1 first-class honors, Madam Speaker. Big up to Akeem. Respect due. Madam Speaker, 2 students received scholarships to pursue studies in the field of science, supported by the private sector. Madam Speaker, I quote, "Servanthood is marked by unselfish giving rather than what is in it for me living." On that note, I want to thank Minister Vaz as we have received one of the 3 USF hotspots in Loidersville. This is of great benefit to the students, as most of them don't have connectivity at their homes or at schools, such as Wandabolas, Top Hill, and Ty Dixon. I'm excited, Madam Speaker, and I'm waiting in anticipation for the second hotspot at the Rose Duncan Park in Linstead Town. And Madam Speaker, I am also hoping for an early resolution to the connectivity in those schools in Ty Dixon. Madam Speaker, I think one of our members hail from that lovely place. Right, Minister? Mm-hmm. At Top Hill and Wandabolas Primary School. In closing, Madam Speaker, I end on this note. As I reflect on the words of the late Most Honorable Norman Manley, the danger is the regard of society as a static, standstill unit. It is not. Society is a dynamic unit, and it is not comprised of separate or several parts, but a whole, in which all parts are interconnected in a way that cannot arbitrarily be changed because they are inherent in the existence of human life. Madam Speaker, the COVID-19 pandemic shows us that a crisis might come at any time, and we need to be ready. To deal with this and any other crisis, tough decisions are required. And Madam Speaker, I implore all of us on this side, that side of the House to make the right decisions, Madam Speaker. Because we need to do that for our people. The people we lead and the people we love. Despite the stresses and the anxiety that we have undoubtedly encountered over the last 18 months, it is my duty to ensure that I keep the flame alive within each constituent, my family of Northwest St. Catherine. I end by reflecting on Acts 20, verse 35. In all things I have shown you that by working hard in this way, we must help the weak and remember the words of our Lord Jesus. How he himself, it is more blessed to give than to receive. And I repeat, it is more blessed to give than to receive. Madam Speaker, I thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, there being no further business, I now ask, Madam Speaker, I now ask for the State of Constituency debate be suspended. But just before, I just want to thank the members who made their presentations today and to comment on the beautiful tie being worn by, by the Member of Parliament from Southeast St. Andrew. Beautiful Jamaican tie. I won't comment on the tie worn by the other member, the bow tie worn by the other member, but just to say, I just love the black, green, and gold. So, Madam Speaker, I now ask that the debate be suspended.
Question before the House is that the State of the Constituency debate be suspended until a time to be announced. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Thank you. Now, Madam Speaker, it is not intended to do any further business today. I therefore ask that House be adjourned until Tuesday, November 9, 2021 at 2 p.m. I also would wish to indicate that the speakers for next week, for Tuesday the 9th, will be Mr. Heroy Clark, MP St. James Central, who will be celebrating his birthday on that day. You may wish to applaud now, give him, yes. And then Mr. Fitzjackson, MP St. Catherine Southern, and Ms. Lisa Hanna, MP St. Anne Southeast. And on November 10, on Wednesday, we will have Mr. George Wright, MP Westmoreland Central, and possibly Mr. Mike Henry, MP Clarendon Central. So, Madam Speaker, I now ask that the House be adjourned until Tuesday, November 9, 2021 at 2 p.m.
The question before the House is that the House do adjourn until next week, Tuesday, the 9th of November. Those in favor? Those against, the ayes have it. House is now adjourned.